Hey, this is Renee from the Craft Table. Welcome to week 10 of our Summer Embroidery Stitch Along. It has been a mystery stitch up till now. I took suggestions from all of you. Thank you to those that left suggestions via email and also on the YouTube channel. And I'm going with Mary's suggestion of turkey work, I think is how it's described. She had suggested it might be a fun stitch to do on the panel in areas where, like for instance, inside the butterflies or the moths, it definitely gives quite a bit of texture to your stitching. And I hadn't done a whole lot of that in the past, so I found it a fun challenge. Hope you will as well. So far, I've only stitched it on my panel in just a couple of places, just to kind of see what I thought about it. And I didn't stitch it when I was doing the tutorial. I did not stitch it in the areas that Mary had suggested, although I think that would be a great place for it. But I wanted to demonstrate it in a smaller area.
You can see right here, I've already done a little bit of the stitching in that one area, and I'm going to then demonstrate it right here. And for a change, I do not have my thread knotted. And I'm starting the stitch by taking my needle from the top to the back and leaving a tail about a 1/2 inch long, if you can see it right there. And so now what I'm going to do is just take a short straight stitch at the base of that, just so that the tail does not pull through to the back when I take my next stitch. So from here on out, I'm going to be making a loop and then securing it with stitch. So I'm coming up where that tail was. So I'm bringing my needle up from the back and I'm pulling it all the way through to the top. And I'm going to put my needle down just a short stitch length away, and holding that thread kind of in my left hand, I'm pulling the thread to the back just far enough that it leaves a little bit of a loop on the top, the same length as that tail, so like a 1/2 inch. And then I'm taking another short straight stitch at the base of that loop. And so that prevents the loop from going, pulling through when I'm taking my next stitch. And this stitch, so I called it the turkey stitch. It's the turkey stitch. Sometimes it's referred to as like turkey work. And it's a stitch that provides a really cool 3D sort of dimensional texture to your stitching. And it's accomplished by a series of these little loops and then a short stitch, straight stitch after each loop. So I'm just filling in the area by bringing my needle up from the back, taking it down a little bit a ways, maybe even shorter than a 1/4 inch, and then keeping a loop on the top about a 1/2 inch long, and then taking a short straight stitch at the base of each loop. So you do a loop and then you do a straight stitch and then you do another loop and another straight stitch. And the closer the loops are to each other, and the denser your rows are, because you can see now I've kind of gone all the way across the top and now I'm coming in to do another row below that, then that makes your stitched area a little bit denser. So you can control how thick your area is by how close together your loops are. And then, again, you just want to make sure you do a straight stitch after each loop. And when I get to where the bottom is, because this is a very organic shape, so it's not, 3 rows of stitching, I sort of just filling in the area with those loops and straight stitches until I feel like I've gotten all of it, pretty much covered that whole area. And then once I've done all of that, the area with the loops and the straight stitches, I will finish I will take my needle to the back and then secure it by running it under a few stitches on the back and cutting my thread. And then you'll see we get to have some fun with the loops to make it look like it kind of does on the left hand side there. So once I have secured all of the, or I've done all my loops and I've secured the stitch onto the back, I'm going to take a pair of scissors and run the blade inside each of those loops and cutting them at the top so that they become a whole bunch of tails like the very first stitch that we took. So you want it to be a bunch of straight stitches. So you accomplish that by taking your scissors, and this is another reason why you kind of have those straight stitches. You don't want to pull out all of your loops. So we're going to just cut all of those loops, and I kind of run my scissors along there, or you can take a needle or like even an eyebrow pencil, not a pencil, like a brush, a comb type thing, to sort of fluff up fluff the strands or whatever. And then what we're going to do is we're going to kind of give it a haircut. We're going to decide, how long we want that to be, and we're going to trim it. And I suggest trimming it a little at a time, because if you trim it too short, it's kind of hard to go back and make it longer. It's actually difficult, impossible to do that. So I cut it, I trim it a little bit, then I take my needle, fluff it out a little bit, see how it looks, make sure there aren't any little stray pieces of floss in there, and then I kind of look at it and see if it needs more of a trim. And you can even angle your scissors a little bit so that, one edge is shorter than the middle if you want it to have a little bit of a curved effect. And so this is where Mary had recommended doing it, sort of where this gray area is inside the butterfly or the moth. At least I think that's what she was referring to. Could have even been the burgundy part. So here I've gone back and I've stitched the other shape with the turkey stitch, added some French knots, and then there's a couple of lazy daisy stitches in there. I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out, and I'm really glad that Mary suggested this stitch, and it's fun to try something different, and I really like the way it gives some interest and texture and some fun whimsy to my stitching. This panel has so many organic shapes that I think you could find quite a few areas to apply this stitch. So yeah, go experiment, play, have some fun, practice this stitch, and I will see you next week. Happy stitching!